Come on, guys! Rock and stone!
Rock and stone, ratbags! I am going to talk about my favourite classes in Deep Rock Galactic, basically all the way through up to level 5. I'm going to rank them, I'm going to give you top tips about them and their upgrades and where they could be beneficial in team play and solo. You may have already seen my solo guides where I declared the engineer was the best class. Agree, disagree, pop it in the comment section down below. And do remember, lots of tips in this video, so I want tips from you guys as well, particularly once you've watched it. I'm sure I'm going to piss some people off putting them here or talking that this one's not as good or this weapon's not as great. Remember, it's just one dwarf's opinion. Don't get upsetty spaghetti. Just like the goddamn video and watch it to the end, then leave your salty comment. Rock and stone, ratbags, let's go. The gunner's got to be my least favourite class. I feel like his traversal tools as well as his secondary is just massively underwhelming. And a shield generator definitely takes a little bit of nuance to get used to, effectively giving you that brief second of respite from enemies. Of course, the big, massive, powered minigun is always going to take down lots of enemies, but you'd be surprised how quickly you run out of ammo. If you've got more than one gunner in a team, good luck trying to fight over them ammo drops. And if you fail to get one of them and there's not much nitro around, then you really will have a hard time using just a secondary weapon. I ran into these bozos last night, and even after I picked one of them up, I was gathering all the gold, running around trying to get the secondary objective, and spent most of the match looking for nitro. After I'd run out of ammo, they still begrudged me picking up 2 of the ammo drops, and this was the second ammo pod where I didn't get any of the original ammo from the first one. We're all going to run into dwarven arseholes from time to time, but having 2 gunners on the team I don't think helped much. Anywho, a look at the modifications. I think absolutely you want magnetic refrigeration to help the cooling rate go a little bit quicker. And bear in mind what I said about the ammo running out, it wouldn't hurt to have the oversized drum, but if you're playing solo, I would go for the high velocity rounds doing more damage. It will thin the crowd out, that's the job of a gunner. Just be prepared as a team to sacrifice some of your ammo for it. The Bulldog Heavy Revolver is pretty tasty. If you can learn to shoot and shoot well, then it can absolutely do a lot of damage, surprisingly, for what is effectively a sidearm. Also has one of the weapons that has the greatest stun chance, so you can slow down enemies, but I gotta say I would still prefer just damage overall. I'm not really a big fan of any of the modifications on them. I guess improved accuracy could be good if you're not that great at aiming, and possibly again going with the theme of needing more ammo, expanded ammo bags would be the next one you grab. After that, it's where things get just a bit bog standard or just not very good at all. Starting with the shield generator, yes, it is going to give you a few precious seconds of respite, but it only lasts 6 seconds until you get to the next stage. And even then, you're only gaining a 1.5 seconds extra. Effectively, what it does is gives you a second that the enemies won't come into your shield, but you can't shoot at them either. Placed smartly next to objectives where the enemies might be trying to get at, like a hacked drone, or like here using it against a ammo drop so you can get it safely. You can go for generating it quicker so you can use it more, or go for a larger area, which is a must if you are playing with a team. But it can become a hindrance. Popping this and not letting anyone else know, especially when you're back to back with other dwarves, could mean that other players are wasting shots they're lining up. It would be nice if the shield actually gave you some sort of extra health. Of course, it is going to regenerate them shields, and in precious moments where you're about to lose them completely, then yeah, it could be worth it. But out of a lot of the actual gear modifications, I just don't rate it that highly. In terms of grenades, well, they're pretty again bog standard. Not until we get to the higher levels would I say it becomes something pretty decent. Although sticky grenades are great for taking on big enemies, especially some of the behemoths that basically dig underground sometimes or have got a quick habit of disappearing. Incendiary grenades could be good as well if you really are targeting certain biomes with certain enemies, as fire does do a considerable amount of damage to most of the creatures in the game anyway. But I would say it's still pretty generic out of all of the grenades, but maybe not the worst. One thing the gunner is built for is taking on lots of explosive damage. So whether it's the fire glyphids or teammates with explosives not giving you a warning, you'll be able to take the shrapnel like a champ. But without doubt, it is the zipline launcher that's so disappointing to me. Sure, it can get you across big large chasms at a push, but it's usually so slow unless you're going on a downward slope. And although you can get an upgrade to increase the angle so you can fire it higher and potentially reach some of the materials and minerals deep into the ceiling, the problem with it is when you're hanging from the actual wire itself, you can't actually grab anything and still maintain holding on. You'll always drop. and that's why it's such a letdown. The ZIPLINE launcher allowed you to hold on, I would rate it highly more, and being able to grab certain minerals at the same time. No amount of upgrades really fix or change that either. The only other benefit possibly getting at level 10, getting the full damage resistance. Out of the traversal tools, I really do probably rate it as the worst one. So really only with his main weapon being the shining light for this guy, that's why he's in number 4th place. I'm sure he's got more positives, and I'm sure for more skilled adept users who use every single bullet where it counts and utilising that shield to pick up their friends or have that moment to revive them, that's obviously another bonus in team play for sure. But for me, yeah, I just didn't gel with it as much as the others. At number 3 is the Scout class, which is a change of mind for me from my initial impressions of the game. It's got a great rifle, I really do like this, I feel it's pretty decent. It's got enough ammo to really make a difference. While the first upgrades aren't anything to write home about, either increased stabilisation so you get more accuracy with the first shot, or increasing the rate of fire. But once you actually get more damage per bullet in the second run, and then again in the third run, it really makes this a bit of a beast of a weapon. The boomstick, not so much. Again, it's on the weak side for a sidearm. With only 2 shots, you'll be constantly reloading. It does pack a powerful punch, so as long as you start aiming properly with it, it could become something you go to a lot. But I just found that time and time again, I was running out of shots at the wrong moment with it because it's just simply too limited with just them 2. And there's absolutely no way that you can increase the actual ammo in that magazine. So I'd make it a super beast, go for extra damage, and maybe have the quickfire ejector so you can reload quicker. When it comes to its additional tool, the flare gun doesn't get much love, but it can be absolutely vital, especially if you're like me, always flinging out your flares and running out. You can really make use of this, particularly solo. I would say in team play it's not so much needed. And while I don't want this video to be just a wish list of what I wish the classes were, I do kind of hope in the future they may add some modification that maybe has some of the flares or a special one act as a lure. Or if that's too similar to what is going on with some of the other classes, what if it blinds creatures for like 3 or 4 seconds and basically makes them in a stunned state for a couple of seconds? Or ultimately have the flare actually causing some damage, as I don't think it does. I don't notice any creatures taking any damage when I fired at them. So apart from the first upgrade to make the flares last a bit longer, one of them, I would say ignore the rest until you're more flush with credits and minerals. The grappling hook I do absolutely love. Gets you out of a bind super quick, and particularly for their mad dashes back to the dropship, being able to fire it horizontal and get you somewhere quicker is even just as important as getting somewhere high. Again, it does suffer though the same fate as the ZIPLINE. Not being able to hold and grab stuff at the same time is a bit of a pain in the butt. And just like some of the others, you've got temporary full damage if you equip it, but again it's pretty high level at level 15 for this one. I would go for absolutely the quicker charger. But other than that, I wouldn't necessarily have to waste any points in it. This wouldn't be one of the priorities in the early stages. So you could argue it suffers pretty much like the gunner, whereas apart from the main weapon, the other items just aren't as good. But I would say the grappling hook is miles above the actual ZIPLINE and can be really, really great for solo play, particularly, like I said, getting to place or escaping enemies pretty quickly. Its grenade is something useful as well, particularly again solo, slowing down swarms. That's what it's going to do, 75% reduction in the speed of them, and that's for bigger creatures too. And with a bit of practice, and once you get to that stage, the pheromone canister can be really good. Throwing one of these bad boys at an alien and watching his friends go and devour him is something I would say is pretty decent. So for me, the grenades do elevate it again above the gunner. One additional bonus though, when you get to level 10 with this guy, you are going to have another opportunity to resist full damage. If only we could swing an axe or go ahead and grab items while grappling. It really would make this one of the most played classes, I think. In team play, it is exactly what you expect from a scout. This guy should be at the front, running around looking for certain points, minerals and stuff for possibly either the engineer or the driller to come along and grab. In a tough fight, you still want him pretty close, using that slowdown grenade to help teammates, give them that extra bit of damage buff and absolutely lighting the way, especially in the darkest caves. At number 2, it's got to be the driller. The main weapon and your special traversal tool here are really what sells this class. I absolutely love the flamethrower, but I do understand some people that really don't like the fact it hasn't got any range, but that's exactly what your Sabata 120 is for. Admittedly, it doesn't have enough ammo in it sometimes. With only 12 shots in it originally, I do sometimes run out of bullets fairly quickly, so getting a high capacity magazine is a must for me. And then I would go for just more damage per shot. You've got 3 chances to actually increase it, giving it 20 damage per bullet in the end. But the flamethrower, absolutely, I still feels like a great weapon. It just shreds, kills enemies. If you can't hit a barn door with a chicken or some other saying like that, then I reckon the flamethrower is for you. Smack a high capacity tank on it to get even more from it, and go ahead and put more damage on them flames, and you've got a great one. It does run out pretty quickly, so you will maybe need to refill quite a bit more, very much similar to the gunner. But yeah, for me, it's definitely one of the best. In terms of its traversal tool, the drills are just amazing. Get more fuel tanks on it, or go ahead and drill faster, and then grab the overheat integrity check mod, and effectively you will be able to drill through anything in no time at all. It's great for them last minute dashes where the drop pod maybe isn't as easy to get to as it's making out. If you've got maybe 60 or 70 meters, you can pretty much go through this in just 2 recharges. It's great as a melee weapon as well, which really elevates it above obviously lots of the other traversal tools that don't do any damage, and for me it's definitely one of my favourite traversal tools to use. The satchel charges do require a bit of thinking, especially if you're looking for choke points or defending a sort of objective. Then placing these at the right spot and waiting for that moment is oh so satisfying. In solo play it's all just about throwing it out when things are just getting a bit too much. But in team play, combining this with someone with the lure grenade, and man, you can do a hell of a lot of damage. So make sure you're talking to your friendly engineer and you're shouting out every time you want to put one of these down. Work in conjunction with each other and you can take out a whole bunch of creatures using the satchel charges and then lures. And because of that, I would still go for the bigger charge radius just to do as much damage in a wider area. Or likewise, the extra satchel charge is also something worth considering. And you're throwing things around with abandon, and being able to pick it up and use it again is a must. Just remembering to actually explode it can be a bit difficult sometimes. It will take you a few matches to get used to. And on top of that, we've actually got its throwable weapon. I sometimes forget I've got this because I've got the satchel, but the axes do a huge amount of damage. You can also pick them up if you have missed your target, and these are great. Taking on big chunks with lots of armor on them does a huge amount of damage still as well, and I'd go for that over the HE grenade, which effectively just does a more explosive high grenade. And then moving on to the 10 perk armor piece, which gives you more insulation against flame. So really good for some of the environments that actually have like a lava floor once you dig down into it. Overall, this guy is going to be your go-to as a team. You should always have at least one of these to either dig your way out of trouble, to get some of the minerals high up, and for close control of targets. And that means it's the engineer as my number 1 class. Of course, I've already stated how much I love it playing solo, but I would say even with teammates, it's still one of the better classes that at least you must have in your team. And a little side note, with all these classes, absolutely using Bosco to help you gather minerals high up. You can use Bosco to go and dig and get resources that are too high up for you if you find traversal tools just not adequate. But he can't pick up fossils or certain seeds, so that's where it comes into play, choosing the right character for that mission. The one letdown in the engineer's class is his shotgun. I often find I'm running out of ammo a lot, especially the fact that you can't aim down sights. It means that lots of your shots may go a little bit errant, so going for bigger magazines is always a must. And then after that, it's all about having a bit more accuracy so you do more damage, and for me that means the choke. But you could argue that having more extra ammo bags could also give you some more in the tin. Very rarely have I run out completely though of shotgun ammo while completing a mission. One drop normally suffices. Undoubtedly the deep core 40mm PGL is a beast of a weapon that can really get you out of a bind, particularly adept at taking on bigger creatures. Even the hard shelled creatures, you can pretty much reliably take a lot of damage from them, or aim it just a bit low and the area damage and effect radius will certainly cause them problems. Combine that with some extra ammo as the first unlock, in fact double up on extra ammo and got 13 little grenades of pure hell. But the piece de resistance for me also is the lure grenade. I wouldn't buy the plasma burster or the proximity mine even if you pay me to, as the lure is simply a beast for solo play. Effectively setting out a target for all the enemies to go towards and for you to take them out with that deep core. Absolute must for solo play, but useful for picking up your friends in team play when they're down. You can really distract enemies while you pick them up safely. And then onto the traversal tool, which I ain't gonna lie, I hated the first few rounds that I used the engineer class. Firing these platforms, Getting them on certain edges or falling off them when I was trying to climb top of them, it's really finicky. But once you get used to it, oh my god, it's become my favourite one to use. It's so quick and easy to go up and get minerals. You really don't feel like you're stuck anywhere with a platform gun. It just makes life so much easier when you're getting them hard to reach resources, and definitely one of the best, in my opinion, versatility tools to get around. It has got an upgrade that I haven't fully explored yet, which allows enemies to kind of go around it as they don't want to stand on the platforms, which I want to test more. But I don't think you'll need any high capacity or extra quick speed firing them. It's all just about getting some extra platforms to fire. But with 24 platforms that you can fire without needing to fill up, this will get you to any location you want to get to grab them precious resources. And of course, the shock absorbing compound reducing the fall damage is super good as well if you learn how to actually land on them. The Engineer also has the LMG gun. In fact, one of the first upgrades you can get at level 1 is the Gemini system, which splits it into 2, effectively meaning you've got 3 NPCs helping you out complete all your solo missions. If you are playing with others, I would definitely switch out the LMG Gemini system to maybe the more hard-hitting LMG MK2, effectively going to be doing just a little bit more damage. 15 extra ammo, as well as extra 5 targeting range. Great for doing them defend a certain point or choke point missions. You might want to upgrade the LMG so you can record it or build it quicker, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. This is one you've got to plan out a little bit to get the most out of, and you're always given a warning that a swarm's on its way, so there should be no reason why you get caught out. I guess the only other thing that might be slightly disappointing is the hazmat system for this guy. You can upgrade their bullet capacity, and they even shine lights even when they run out of bullets to help you as well. And then finishing off with the level 10 upgrade for the armour for the Engineer. Gives a 50% reduction against poison, and it's okay. Yeah, you will come across quite a few creatures as you get towards the mid and end game by the looks of things, particularly in the fungus bog biome, etc. So that could be handy. So that's about it. That's how I rank them, why I like them, and some tips. I actually think my perfect team could be 2 drillers and 2 engineers. I'm not saying scouts are completely useless or gunners. You certainly might need something to take on enemies at a bit more range with a bit more power. So I guess maybe at least 1 scout, but it'd definitely be the gunner I'd be leaving at home. Now there's a few things you can do to elevate some of them classes. I'm not just here to rag on the ones I don't like, but it's going to take a good few perk rewards to get there. Namely, for the ones that hang on the zip lines or the grappling hook, having hover boots could really be what you're looking for. Could really give you just that few seconds to grab that fossil or whatever's hanging on a wall. Combine this with extra fall damage, and chances are you'll never take any fall damage while this is equipped with them 2 classes. By the time you've unlocked all of them, you've got nearly 4 seconds worth of hover. I would say again, if you are maybe a gunner class or a scout, you might benefit from having the Unstoppable perk, giving you that bit of extra speed boost and making sure you're the guy that carries the aqua quartz minerals to the actual drill ship. I find that the actual gunner class is a little bit slow because of that chain gun, so this can massively speed him up, 25% extra while carrying heavy objects, and you'll have reduction of 50% going through any slow down effects, so particularly in the fungus bogs again. Agree, disagree, let me know your opinion. It's just purely based on my experience. I have played the majority of this game so far solo, but I did jump into a good few matches for a good few hours last night. And I did try a range of the classes, hence why I got them all up to level 5 or 6. I've seen a few comments saying you should try and just get good with all of them, and yes, of course, that matters. But in the early stages, I would stick with what you really feel comfortable with. Try each class out for at least 1 mission. If you don't like it, go with the one you want to at least level 10. By that time you'll have unlocked a whole bunch of modifications, including the armor upgrade. You'll be more proficient at completing the missions, getting secondary objectives and mining all materials, and you'd have got more perk points by upgrading and unlocking more for the character that you're using more. It just makes sense to go to a certain place or level with a character that you're comfortable with and then start experimenting, rather than do what I had to do for this video, which was mess around and move around from character to character over and over again for matches and matches. It did give me a good flavour of all of them, but it did mean that progression has been slower. I played on my Xbox for nearly a week with my other account, and I definitely got a lot more out of it just by sticking to the Engineer for a good chunk of that time before moving on to the Scout and the other classes. So yeah, that's my advice. Try each class for at least 1 round, and then whatever one's your favourite, work on him until he gets to level 10 at least. That's when you unlock the assignments for different weapons. I think that's some pretty solid advice in my opinion. Agree, disagree? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you dwarves later. Rock and stone!